Oops.
No. Nobody. Here, try one. Next time I need one too.
Yeah, she is. Now, she's ready for 2015. We're not sure about school. I think it does.
Remove. All right, over here.
Oh, nice. Nice looking place. Never been in.
Yeah, this is a great place. Yeah, this is terrific. We should use this more often.
Nobody else is here.
Oh, for the fight. Belgium.
Sit down there.
Oh, it's nice sitting here. Yeah, that's a good one. So what we were like, where you going? No, I feel okay. You're the rules. Yeah, you're the official person here. The officials. Oh, really? So this is the expense that she was. Oh, yeah.
Standing room only, yeah. Good. I don't know how they know that. Oh, it's fun. I love it, Did you bring your dog? Do you bring your dog?
No,
No, you're same with me.
I think she's the.
You ready for a big crowd?
I am.
You have all the answers.
Every bit of it.
We won't ask any questions.
You know, it's funny, today I'm doing 4 presentations altogether. I've already done 2 for the bankruptcy court in West Palm Beach. And then this evening I'm doing it at Morgan Stanley client meeting as well. So I have 4 presentations. But it's funny because as I go through the information, you're going to notice that I am going to answer all of your questions in my presentation because I get very involved with it. So it'll be helpful, you know, so we can have a question and answer period at the end because everything's going to be thought provoking.
This is the same presentation over and over again.
Depending on the topic, if it's identity theft, pretty much the same. What you're going to find, though, is that the information I'll provide you is going to actually be a wonderful platform for you from this point on to start looking at some of these identity theft issues. So I have to lay it out what you should do, what you should not do. Taking all of this. You know, South is the worst area in the entire world right now. Unfortunately, we live in an area that is very targeted, and I mean, your life there, your home is in that realm of the environment. Criminal element organized there. Beaches and Florida also has a plan for a lot of we do crime prevention on personal safety and security, security, and we do it on parking lot circumstances and situations. We have a few different segments that we do also. Some on domestic violence, things like that, for some of the corporations and the HR departments, things like that.
Okay, we're getting pretty close to the start time here. I'm trying to get these things off at 3 o'clock. It's 3:03. So let's call this to order. Have a seat. I'll do a few administrative things first. Then I'll introduce Kevin. And then for about the next hour or so after I'm done, Kevin will go through all of the stuff that he has to talk about identity theft. Just a personal note, we did this on a lark and asked if this room was available. And the answer was, it was, and we happen to think this is a pretty nice gig in here. The seats are more comfortable. The only bad news is you can't take any food in, but nonetheless, if you have to go to the restrooms, they're right across the hall, and the grazing table is right outside this door. So we invite you to go ahead and do that. We originally got 50 people to respond to this, which is kind of high for the number of people, especially this time of year. But we figured it was the identity theft stuff that was really driving the issue. We have another one coming up. I'm going to go through Kevin's bio here in a minute. But we've got another one coming up in November that's going to be an author from the Boca area for 2 unsolved murders here in Boca that happened in the late 50s. And she is the author of the book, and she will be here signing the book and raffling off the book. So we think some of this stuff on, I call it the lecture series, is going to be pretty informative to the crowd. We're augmenting this with what Mike Lucan's trip of Route 66 with the, we had the CPR thing, and we're still going to have probably as many events this year as we did last year, maybe even a couple more. So let me talk about a couple other administrative things. I'll just go over that quickly, and then I'll get into Kevin. You may or may not have known the golf scramble was done. It was very popular. The identity theft meeting was set up here by Dave. The Oktoberfest is coming up, 10/17 in Lantana. The Delray Playhouse of Blow Your Horn. Dave Pavick has responsibility. Some of you have asked me about the checks. If you want to give the checks to myself or to John Ryan, we'll make sure we hand those in to Dave Pavick on our Board of Directors meeting on the 14th. We've got the 11, that's the 11/6 with Sally Ling. We're having another one here. It's going to be in the Maple Room. The IBM medical update is going to be the 20th. The 20th. Right. And it's probably going to be in the Maple Room, and we're probably going to have accommodations for as much as 75 to 100 people. November.
Down there.
November 20th. Towers Watson is not going to be here this year, and the rationale behind it was we have already received our 2 free seminars that they held. One was the first one when they announced it, and they gave 2 sessions. We talked them into another one last year. This year, it would have cost the board, the association, or the membership, $1,500. We thought that was a little steep, and we thought Cy's presentation was going to be enough to suffice. So we're going to go without the Towers Watson option this year, and we're going to have Cy on, and Cy's going to be on the program, and that's going to be, I don't think we've established the time, but usually it's about 2:30 or 3 o'clock, something like that. There's going to be a FAU football game, November 14th, against Middle Tennessee. Our annual membership meeting is going to be December the 4th at 3 o'clock. That is going to be in one of these rooms here. I don't know that, I think we may have enough to do it in here, we can get here, but usually this is the time of the year when they start the plays, and that's why we get bumped out of here. But like I said, this was a lark, so anytime we get this is kind of a bonus. The quarterly luncheon at the Ale House is December the 10th, and Dave Pavick is responsible for that. Naturally, just go to the board, to the website, and check all of the dates on the website for the latest news. How many of you like the newsletter? It was a long time coming. We got it out. We combined a couple of them. The feedback so far has been very good, and the reason why we really went at that as aggressively as we did was because the hits we measure the hits on the website by the page. And what we were getting was a lot of hits of people looking to see where the newsletter was or seeing the announcement material. So consequently, we threw some money at it and we got this stuff done. So we think we have a plan in place now to get that delivered. As a matter of fact, I checked with Aurora. One of the things was that the Ale House was done. That was inside this newsletter, and that was just at the beginning of last month. So the stuff is responding pretty well, and that's all thanks to Julie, and she's sitting right there. Jim DeArmond, and Jim has so much other stuff to do. He's doing the recording. We had 50 here, and I think we had almost 10 or 12 that responded to watch this presentation on the internet. So we're broadcasting this one too. So Jim did all the previous stuff, and thanks to Dave Johnson, who connected Kevin up with the group, in terms of getting it done. Hopefully by the end of this, you guys will be so scared to death that you've lost your identity just walking in here. Did Kevin get your credit cards? Good. And just, as a matter of fact, just pass them down to the end, and Kevin will pick them up. Sir?
The medical was at 10:20 or 11?
11:20.
11.
11:20. Cy will be the only presenter.
What's he charging?
For $1,500. Cy, we told Cy the other guy wasn't getting $1,500, and neither was Cy. Okay, hope you enjoy this. I cannot stay. I've got a 4 o'clock I've got to go to. I'm going to briefly give you some outlines and stuff for Kevin. Kevin tells me he's a pretty informal guy, but from the looks of this, it's not so formal. He started this back in 1985 and dedicated to the increasing crime rate throughout the nation. Over the year, his content has changed a little bit, but he's educated roughly 10,000 people. I think that's a lot of dang people in terms of identity theft. But nonetheless, the victims are still always there. So the identity theft thing goes on. He's born and raised in New York City, has a wife and family in Palm Coast, Florida, got 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. He founded the National Crime Stop program in '85 to battle this crime in the community. The workshop he's developed, which you're going to see here today, focuses on crime from a criminal's perspective, and is most often described as the most fast-paced, entertaining, and informative presentation ever given on the topics of identity theft and personal safety. And his family is not even here. I mean, that's a raving review. No, I've heard some great things about this, talked to a few people who've done it. So without any further ado, I think Kevin has passed something out.
Yeah.
Kevin, you have?
I have.
Without any further ado, please welcome Kevin, and thank you
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
how's everybody doing? I have a very big mouth, so I don't think I need the microphone, and I'll be a little freer and able to walk around this way. But as you heard, my name is Kevin Gilpin, and I'm actually the director of the National Crime Stop program. So you guys are very fortunate today, because I have a lot of speakers all around the state right now.
Can you please use the microphone?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
But I'm the best, by the way, so you get a little treat. Let me see. It's not on, and I'm not sure.
Is it a slide thing on there, Kevin?
No, don't see it. Unless it's a twist, it's not.
Let me get the AV guy.
Okay. Try to be done. No on-off switch. So we'll get that hooked up as soon as possible, of course. So now let me give you a little introduction information then. Well, National Crime Stop program, the reason that most of the major corporations and government agencies use our services since 1985 is mainly because of our research. Over the last 30 years, we've been working along with the Department of Corrections, where we actually go into the correctional facilities every year and poll and interview criminals. We figured 30 years ago when this program first started, if we really want to figure out how not to become a victim of crime and pass that on to you, we have to talk to criminals. They're the ones that have to pick you as a victim. They're the ones that commit the crimes, obviously, and know how they go about doing that. And we wanted their inside information. So for the last 30 years, we've been working with criminals, believe it or not, to gather the information to pass on to you. Because we figured if you knew what a criminal needed and looked for in you in order to make you a victim, you could avoid doing some of those things. So as I go through this information, you're going to see how practical it is. There's nothing I'm going to tell you that's only theory. It's all going to be practical things that you're going to be able to apply to preventing yourself from being a victim of identity theft. And when it comes to identity theft, we should all realize that it is the fastest growing crime in the country today. It's not a case of if your credit card or debit card is going to be used fraudulently anymore. It's just a case of when. And the reason why, because everyone asks, why is it so often that my card is being compromised, or the bank is calling me, testing, oh, good, calling me to tell me that someone might be using my information from my card, is because things have changed. See, over the last 20 years now, things have changed to the point where 20 years ago, in order to become a victim of credit card fraud, for example, a criminal would have to steal your handbag or your wallet. He needed the card. Why? There was no internet 25 years ago. He had to then, you guys know your IBM, right? There really wasn't an internet that was consumer-based. So the criminal had to steal your wallet or your handbag, take the credit card out of your wallet, then go to a store and present the card for payment when he was trying to purchase something. So basically, credit card fraud was usually a physical crime first of a person acting or mugging, and then that led to credit card fraud because after you get the cash out of the wallet, he figured, okay, now I have some credit cards. Maybe I can get to the store before they cancel those cards. But things are different now, and this is why it happens so often. Now, the criminal says he doesn't need the card anymore because he doesn't present the card necessarily in the store to make a payment. What he does now is he just needs the information because once he has your card number, your expiration date, your CVV code, which is the 3-digit code on the back of the card, your name, and your billing information, he says now I can go online to any company I want to, like a BestBuy.com. I can order a $1,000 laptop on the website, and when I get to the transaction page, I don't have any risk because all I have to do is now key in the information. He keys in the card number, the expiration date, the 3-digit code, the name, the billing information, and hits enter, and guess what? No companies online ask you to prove who you are. Think about last time you went online maybe to buy some airline tickets. The only thing you did really was go to the airline website, select the ticket you wanted, pick your seats, and then when you got to the transaction page, all you did was key in the information. So how did the airline know who was keying the information in? How did they know that was your card's information you were keying in? They don't. As long as the information is actually valid that you're keying in and hit enter, that's what constitutes that charge. And so for the criminal, he says now it's much easier because I don't have to steal your handbag anymore. This is where we have compromises of company databases that become such a high point in the news, like Target. Target, back in 2013, between November 27th and December 15th, recognized they had a hacker get in the system and place malware in the system. And I don't know how many card numbers you heard that they stole, but I can tell you from the inside information we have, it was 110 million card numbers. Now that, if you don't understand the magnitude of that, let me explain, because there's only 320 million of us living in this country today, and 1/3 of children. So you have about 220 million adults living in the US, well, they stole 110 million card numbers. According to the banking industry, they said that would probably affect 1/2 of the whole adult US population. That's why many of the credit unions and the banks, after they found out the number of records that were stolen from Target, might have canceled your debit card automatically and sent you out a new one, because they did that to everyone in the branch. What they decided was it would make more sense to cancel all debit cards they had issued at that point that was connected to people's checking accounts, of course, where if the card information was sold to someone after the compromise and they used it, that would be people's cash out of their checking account that would be obviously utilized, and they'd have to replace all those funds. So rather than having to look at replacing the funds, they said, we'll just cancel all the debit cards and send new ones out so the old number will not be good. Well, that sounded like a great idea to mitigate their losses, except one problem. A few months after the banks or credit unions had decided to cancel the cards and send out new ones to mitigate their losses, they heard from Home Depot that the same hackers got into their system and stole 56 million card numbers. And so we already replaced the cards. What are we going to do now? Every time we hear about a major hack, that we're going to change the cards out again? They said we can't do that. So now we've just resigned to the fact that we're going to have to accept the idea that you're going to become a victim. Because the banks are saying we're not replacing debit cards again just because, not in a large way.
Hey, just the audience question, is the volume okay?
Am I talking too fast?
Is the pace okay? Okay, well, thank you.
Just want to make sure, okay?
Just a A/B check,
Okay,
thank you.
because I'm going to try to give you 3 hours worth of information in 1 hour. Because it's very, very complicated in some cases, and I'm going to try to break it down in very much layman's terms. But the point is this: the banking industry just says, now we're just going to wait till you become a victim now. You know, so many companies are getting compromised. We can't tell what's going to happen if it happens. So what we're going to do is, if you notice that you have some charges show up on your statement, let us know and replace the card and we'll replace your funds. Well, that just means we're accepting the fact that it's going to happen. And the sad part about it happens so often, we should not be accepting it. And why? Because I did a program for FP&L the other day. I had 1,000 people in the auditorium. During the presentation, I had asked them all, how many of them had been victims of either credit card or debit card fraud just over the last 2 years? Now, I was in Miami at an auditorium. It's one of the highest crime rate areas in the state down in Miami. If I would have asked about a burglary of those 1,000 employees, I would have only got 20 or 25 hands to go up. But I asked about credit card or debit card fraud. This is what was amazing. half the auditorium raised their hands. Now, it's amazing to see 500 people out of 1,000 raise their hands under this premise, turning around going, oh my goodness, I can't believe it, because I've been a crime prevention for 35 years. There has never been a crime in the US that has ever affected 50% of the population before. So we've never seen anything like this. But it's even worse, because as those hands went up, and I'm looking at half the audience out of 1,000 with their hands up, I asked them to continue to keep their hands up, but only if they had their card in their possession at the time that they became a victim. That's what dropped every jaw in the room. And the reason why? Not one hand went down. So guess what? It's not a case like it was in the old days, where they stole your handbag or they mugged you and got to your wallet, or you left your card on a counter. All these folks had their cards in their possession and still became a victim. What does that mean? They did nothing wrong. If you had your card in your wallet and never lost sight of it even maybe, the point is how did you become a victim? What we're not realizing is that every time you swipe your card, you leave the blueprint to that account information in that system. Now, that's where the problem lies, because it's not you getting mugged, it's the hacker getting into the Target system or the Home Depot system and stealing the whole credit card database. Now, just because you shopped during that period where the malware was placed in the system, you become a victim. This is incredible, and it's not just hackers, because I wish I could say that you're going to be able to have any control over a hacker getting in the system. You're not. You know, so just going to a store and making a purchase sets you up at that point to become a victim. The problem is that it's not just the hacker, it's also employees, especially here in South Florida, where they say, the Federal Trade Commission says, between West Palm Beach and Miami is the most targeted area in the entire world for credit card fraud right now. So what does that mean? That means that even when you go to places like, for example, a restaurant, you have to worry about the service in the restaurant. Do you know that the restaurant industry, the one we frequent the most, is the area or the one industry that is the worst in the entire country right now for credit card and debit card theft? And why? Because it's the only place that everyone here, after your meal, you're willing to take your credit card or your debit card out of your pocket, hand it to someone you don't know working for tips for a living, and let them disappear for 5 minutes to go run your card. If you don't remember anything I tell you today, I want you to remember one thing, and that is that the criminal doesn't need your card anymore to make a charge. He's utilizing the internet. So all he wants is the information. So it's as risky as handing your card to a server where he can walk out of the room. You think he's running your card, and he is. But the first thing he does is take his cell phone off his hip and takes a picture of the front and the back of your card first. Now he's just captured your name, your card number, your expiration date, your 3-digit CVV code from the back of the card that's supposed to remain a secret. Now that he has your name as it's spelled on your account, all he has to do when he goes home is Google your name. Once he Googles your name, he's going to find a residential address for you. The question is your home address the billing information at the bank? Because if it is, you're done. He has everything he needs right then to then go online to BestBuy.com maybe, order a $1,000 laptop, and when he gets to the transaction page, he doesn't have to present a card. All he has to do is key the information in and hit enter. And when he does, if you used an ATM card at that restaurant the night before, that $1,000 is going to come out of your checking account to make that purchase, like he's standing at an ATM machine with your card and the PIN number. How many of us, and just to show you how complacent to a point we become in regard to security. For example, how many of us on a Friday night, maybe you don't feel like cooking, you decide I'm going to call up Domino's or the pizza place down the road. How many of us call up that location and go, oh, I want to order a pizza and have it delivered? And what do they say? Well, let me have your card number, expiration date, your 3-digit code on the back, and your billing zip code. And guess what? Without a thought, we pull our card out of our pocket, we tell it to him over the phone where we can't see what he's doing at the shop. And what is he doing first? Writing your information down. And then when you hang up with him, he keys it into the system, takes that piece of paper, sticks it in his pocket, and it's as easy as that. You're going to become a victim, because 83% of every purchase you make today is done electronically. And guess what? When it comes to electronic transfers of funds, which means that you're taking a card and swiping it, that's not how it was 25 years ago. See, 25 years ago, who paid for groceries with a credit card? Think about it. We used checks and cash at the grocery store 25 years ago. 25 years ago, there was grocery stores you couldn't use a credit card to pay for your groceries. We just didn't see that made any sense because it incurred interest. So you paid interest on the food that you were buying? No, you didn't want to do that. But I was in Winn-Dixie a couple of days ago, and two people in front of me, as I'm standing on the checkout line, the lady that was at the checkout pulled out a checkbook to pay for her groceries. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. There's probably 4 or 5 of us on the line, and although no one on the line knew her or each other, we all became best friends and hated her simultaneously. The worst part is she took her time writing her checkout while we stood there, and you could tell people were talking to each other, oh, I can't believe she took out a check. But what was more amazing was she gave the check to the lady behind the counter, and she tried to run it, and the worst thing happened, it wouldn't go through. So then she had to call them, she demanded that they call the manager now, because she said, I have plenty of money in my account. That's just to show you where we are now. Everyone expects you just to swipe your card. And most of us are using, in a lot of cases, an ATM card because it's connected to your checking account. And there's no minimum purchase. And everyone accepts it. So why not use an ATM card and not carry a lot of cash? So you're swiping an ATM card. The problem is that if you swipe an ATM card, you just left the blueprint connected to your money in your checking account in that system. What happens when that grocery store system gets compromised by a hacker? And he steals like Target, the whole database. You're going to become a victim. The problem I have, it's going to affect your checking account. And that is your money. See, I believe, as the banking industry is doing now by putting a chip in all your debit and credit cards, that they are trying to shift the liability to you or the vendor and not be held responsible when a store gets compromised. And that is what the chip is about. I'm going to let you know right now, that's part of the reasoning behind that, which makes sense for the banking industry. So you have to realize that you want to shift that liability back to the bank. And by using an ATM card, you're not. You're actually leaving the blueprint to your checking account in all those systems. So when you get compromised, it's not the bank, it's you that loses the money. And you're going to have to try to get reimbursed by the bank now through FDIC. That's where you might have a 30 to 60-day delay, losing opportunity to have access to your funds. So I'm going to talk about just the simple things to start, and then I'm going to give you a strategy. The strategy is how should I spend my money? What instrument should I use? Not what to spend it on. You spend your money on anything you want. But the point is that should I use my ATM card or should I use a credit card for making purchases? Because you have to physically make purchases at gas stations and grocery stores, and we're using a card in most cases to do that now. So I'm going to give you an idea of what you should use to actually reduce the opportunity that you can become a victim where someone can steal your data. You're going to go online maybe to make some purchases now that we're going into the holiday season and you're looking for some deals. Well, what should you use online and pass on as data to these companies that could be anywhere in the world that you're ordering from? And then the last place is, well, 75 to 3/4 of our income is going out to paying bills. How do you pay FP&L now? Think about that. Are you providing data to FP&L, where FP&L now has your information from an account in that system, where if they get compromised, you become a victim again? We have to realize we're providing data to companies and hoping they can secure it properly. Just in the restaurant industry, I can tell you this, there's restaurants that are already making some changes. Why? Because the banking industry is warning the restaurant industry that we're going to hold you responsible for fraudulent charges on these cards if you're the source of losing the data. And so like Chili's, if you've been to a Chili's restaurant, you'll notice that on every Chili's table in the state of Florida, you're going to find a computer with a skimmer on it, where after your meal, you don't give your card to the server, you take your card and swipe it on the computer right on the table, and it shoots out a receipt right there for you, because if they don't touch your card, they're not liable. Because you have to realize Darden, who operates Olive Garden and Bahama Breeze and Longhorn Steakhouse, some of the popular chain restaurants, they said by the middle of the winter, every Darden restaurant, the server will bring the machine to the table, swipe your card right there and hand it right back to you so that you don't lose sight of your card. But I was in Bonefish last night for $6 bang shrimp. If you haven't checked that out on Wednesday nights, folks, you should. And after, the server came over with a billfold and my receipt in it, and he put it down on the table. Well, I know, I don't want to put my credit card in there. I don't want to lose sight of my card. So as soon as it hit the table, I went, well, don't go anywhere. I picked up that billfold, took my receipt out, handed the billfold back to him without putting anything in there, and explained to him, I feel uncomfortable losing sight of my card in this day and age of identities. Now, so if you don't mind, when I'm finished here completely, can I get your attention where you can take me up to a register so I can watch my transaction here like I do everywhere else? Let me ask you folks, is there anywhere else that you're willing to take your credit card or a debit card out of your pocket, give it to a stranger you've never met before, and then let them walk out the room for 10 minutes? No. just the restaurant industry. Well, we have to start making some changes because it's not just watching your handbag and your wallet anymore. Now it's how you conduct business that will determine whether or not you're going to become a victim. And if you're going to easily and readily give your information out to companies or to a server, you're going to become a victim, especially in South Florida. So we have to change the way we do business. Just ask to go to a register on the way out. They took me last night. They led me right up to the bar on the way out as I was leaving Bonefish. Gave my card to the bartender. He ran it right there on the device I could see and handed me the card right back. That way they couldn't take a picture of it. They couldn't write the information down. They have little skimmers they can use that are in pockets sometimes. They couldn't do that. I watched the whole transaction. And you have to make these changes. You know, until the U.S. has come to the point to realize that no restaurant, like in Europe, should ever have a server take the card from the table and walk away. It just doesn't make sense. Other thing is that we have some issues, obviously, with how you're making purchases now. And that is, as well, how many of you use an ATM card for purchases, by the way, at gas stations and hotels or whatever? Raise your hand if you use ATM cards. You know, and I noticed something. As you get older, you get actually wiser, as the adage says. That a lot of you, you're not using an ATM card, I would imagine, because you figured out, I don't want to swipe a card that's connected to my money, my checking account, you know, these systems. But your kids and your grandkids, they are. The most targeted demographic, believe it or not, in the U.S. is not a senior. It's the second most targeted demographic. The number one targeted demographic is 18 to 25-year-olds. And they don't even know how to fill out a check. All they know is an ATM card. They do an ATM for everything. They trust it in any system, at the gas station, online, and it's connected to their checking account, so they put their checking account at risk with those companies every single time they make a swipe or make a purchase. But you guys are a little smarter. So you guys are, when you go to the gas station, you guys are using credit cards? Who uses a credit card? And that's where I'm going to lead you also, to continue to do what you're doing there. I'm sorry. What I'm going to tell you is this. Your credit card is the safest instrument in your pocket for you to use. And the reason why is your credit card, it's not your money, it's the bank's money. You just have a line of credit with the bank. It's not for 30 days that you get a statement to tell you what the bank or American Express or Discover is saying that you charge over the last 30 days. And what happens is you get an opportunity without having any skin in the game to look at that statement first and go, I see one charge here I didn't make. And as long as you pick up the phone and call up that Discover or American Express or your bank, is the credit card from your bank, and tell them, look, I'm looking at my statement, I see a charge I didn't make. As long as you make that call within 60 days from the date of the charge, the bank can't hold you responsible for 1 penny for that charge. What they're going to tell you on the phone is we're going to cancel that card and send you out a new one. You know what that means? That's perfect, because they're the victim. That's why they say we're just going to replace it. And you don't have to get a police report. You don't have to sign an affidavit. You know why? Because they are the victim. They paid for the item that the criminal fraudulently charged, so they lost the money, so they're the victim. So continue to use your credit cards and swipe it any way you want. It doesn't matter. I'm not concerned about my credit card because all I have to do is watch my statement every month and check for any charges that show up I didn't make and report it within 60 days from the date of the charge. So you're in the best position you could be. But if you do use an ATM card, the thing that's kind of curious now for me is that 20 years ago, when I went to a store to make a purchase, and they got to the register, they just said right up front, they gave me an option, cash or charge. The Visa called charge. Do you remember those days? Or cash. And normally that's how we were paying for something. Either my charge card or I was going to pay with cash or check. Now, what was interesting was, or today what's interesting is if I swipe an ATM card, wherever I swipe it, I get this little thing where the person asks me debit or credit. Now, how many of you, if you use your ATM card, how many of you select debit when you have that option? Let me see. All right. Because not too many of you use the ATM card. How many of you select credit with your ATM card? More on the credit side, okay? So for you folks that use your ATM card, doesn't matter which one you select, debit or credit. What do you think? Oh yes, it does matter. I can tell you, for those of you that use your ATM card, that is the most important financial decision you make every single day. Whether you pick debit or credit. Because if you pick the right choice out of debit or credit, what goes in the network of that company is unusable. And that means if a hacker gets in or an employee looks at your purchase, he's not going to see anything that he would be able to use to make a purchase. But if you pick the wrong choice out of debit or credit, what goes in the system is completely reusable by anyone that gets it. So that is basically the most important decision you make in determining whether your checking or savings account will be effective. So which one is it? Should I tell you right now? I'm not going to. I'm going to tease you first with a question. And what is that? Well, don't everybody in this room, I'm sure, you guys know what credit is. Credit is when you bought your house, most likely. That you didn't buy the house. Who bought the house? The bank did. Of course they did. Because we said to the bank, would you check my history to know that I would pay you back over 15 to 30 years, because I pay everyone back on time. And would you then approve me for you to pay for the house, and I'll pay you back over time along with interest. And they did you, took you through an approval process, checked your history, said, okay, pay for the house, you pay them back. That's credit. The same thing with a car. You don't normally buy a car yourself. You have the bank buy the car, you pay the bank back. But that's why they have to approve you for a car loan to see if you're good for 5 to 7 years paying them back. Well, that's credit. But if I go to an ATM, if I use my ATM card in the store and I swipe it, they ask me debit or credit. If I select credit with my ATM card, does the bank pay for the item at the store and then I pay the bank back over time along with interest? Is that what happens? No. Where's the money come from? Your checking account. So it's not credit. Because if I would have bought my house and went to a mortgage company to buy a house, let's say, and I said, I want credit to buy this house. And they said, okay, but then the next day I noticed they took the $300,000 out of my account. I would say, that wasn't credit. Would that not be credit? It's credit. Well, it's not credit. So I say, why do they mislead us with a question that doesn't make sense when they say debit or credit? Well, it's because the banking industry wants you to know, it doesn't mean your ATM card turns into a credit card. No, the money still comes out of your checking account. They're trying to distinguish the two systems that are now on your ATM card, which most people don't realize. So this bed.
That's your credit agency.
Tell me I've been compromised. My bank telling me, are you in Vegas right now making a purchase? Many of us get that call too. But you know what's interesting is they're trying to tell you that you have two different systems on your ATM card. One is the ATM system, that's the debit. So when you say debit, okay, what happens then is you have to key in your ATM PIN number, which is saying that your bank is going to use their ATM system to electronically reach into your checking account, pull the money out, and pay the store that you're standing in. That's what debit is, that your bank is electronically pulling the money out. What's good about the debit is this, is that, well, the PIN number is associated with the ATM card because that is to protect you, to make sure that if someone stole your wallet and took your ATM card out of the wallet, they couldn't go to an ATM machine and get cash out. They wouldn't be able to because they don't know what your PIN number is. The thing that's most important is what you don't know, and that is when you use the debit or the ATM system, when you swipe that card and key in your 4-digit PIN number, even at a gas station pump, as soon as you key in the 4 digits, those numbers are encrypted immediately at the point of sale. So the only thing that goes into the store's database from that point is going to be 4 X's. Can anyone use 4 X's to get into your checking account? Nope. So you are completely safe using the debit function because the only thing the store's database receives is 4 X's. And even if a hacker got into the system and stole the credit card database, he would see your purchase, but he would see you paid with 4 X's. He couldn't sell that data. He couldn't use it to make a purchase. So you're fine. But if you select credit with your ATM card, you're no longer asking your bank to electronically reach into your checking account and take the money out. You now have asked a third-party company, which I can tell you in almost every case, the contract is with Visa, who is on my ATM card, their emblem. You're asking Visa, who is a credit card services company, to electronically reach into your checking account, pull the money out, and pay the store. So the question they're really asking you when they ask you debit or credit is, who do you want to take the money out of your checking account and pay the store? Is it the bank, where you'll have to key in a PIN number, which will be protected because it's encrypted at the point of sale, or do you want Visa to do it? The difference is very, very important. And what is that? Well, if you use Visa, you're going to have to supply Visa and that store's database, Visa's codes to electronically access your checking account, pull the money out, and get the money to the store you're standing in. Well, what are those codes? Well, you know what they are because they're right on the card. It's the Visa number, the expiration date, the 3-digit CVV code, and your name and your billing information. That's what gets passed on to the store's database every time you use the credit function. Because Visa needed that information to get to your money in the checking account. Well, that means that's what's in the network of that company now. So for every time you selected credit, you have a company that has that data in their system where a hacker now hacks into that system and steals the credit card database, they're gonna be able to get a number that they'll be able to reuse. So what I'm saying in essence is you should never select the credit function on an ATM card. Because each time you have in the past, or you do in the future, you're gonna provide reusable information to a database of a store. Whereas now you have to worry about the employees going into the system and stealing that information. You have to worry about a hacker like you did at Target or Home Depot or Neiman Marcus getting in and stealing the whole credit card database. So for those of you that have used your ATM cards and selected credit, I suggest one thing, very simple. You need to call your bank at your earliest convenience and tell them, look, I have this ATM card I've had for a little while. I'd like you to cancel that Visa number on that card, and I'm gonna cut it up and throw it away. I want you to send me out a new ATM card with a new Visa number, new expiration date, new 3-digit code. That way you get to start all over. Every purchase you made now in the past, when you selected credit, you don't have to worry about it anymore because it's your old Visa number in that system. So if they steal it now and try to reuse it, it doesn't debit any money out of your checking account. It's a way to start all over, and then from that point on, with your new card, never select the credit function. The only thing that should have ever been on your card was the ATM system that your bank owns, which will encrypt your information at the point of sale. It's not until we started asking the banking industry to give us an ability for an ATM card to be used online, and the banking industry says, well, that could be a benefit to us also, because we can get half of the fees that Visa charges every store when someone makes a purchase, and they don't get that fee when you use the debit function. So they thought it was a plus, and what it did was shift the liability from you using credit cards to using debit cards to make purchases, and now the responsibility being in your hands of losing the money. Other thing that's interesting is how many of us in this room, anyone use an ATM card online to make purchases like airline tickets, things like that? Because if you are, you need to stop. And the reason why, you can't trust your Visa information connected to a checking account with a company database. Because you're looking at now, there's 190 million websites online right now. Now back in '83 when the PC was being developed out of curiosity, did they ever imagine that there'd be 190 million websites? Didn't even know there was something called a website in '83, did they? That's amazing. But 1/3 of those companies are not even in this country. So you got about 60 million websites from companies in another country that half the time when you order something online, you don't know where it's coming from. Because most of the companies that are outside the US try to make it look like they're a US-based company. And why? Because they want you to feel comfortable when you find them on the internet, going, okay, I can trust them because they're right here in the US. A lot of times you don't know because maybe they have a picture of Panama City Beach on their website. You think it is, you got bought into buying from them, and then when the box comes, you got Chinese writing all over it. And that's when you realize, oh, this came from China. That's when you should say to yourself, uh-oh, that means when I ordered this on their website and keyed in my information and enter, that data now is in a company in China. Guess what? We have no jurisdiction in China. So you know what that means? The owners of the company there, he goes in his own database, he sells your information, he gives it away. He does whatever he wants with it because we don't have any jurisdiction to do anything in regards to stopping you from doing anything. So the reality is you should never use an ATM card that's connected to your checking account online. Absolutely not. What do I suggest? Using a credit card. It's not your money, it's the bank's money. You notice it after the statement comes in because you got hit by fraud because you made a purchase online and someone stole it and used it. You're gonna see the charge show up. You didn't pay for it. You're gonna tell the bank, hey, I didn't make that charge. They're gonna cancel your card and send you out a new one. So you can always use your credit card freely because it's not your risk. It's the bank's risk using credit cards. But the other thing I suggest is PayPal. Some of you are familiar, but PayPal is the most secure payment center and bank in the entire world for online transactions. And why? Because what it does is kind of simple. They act as a middleman for you. PayPal is just a federally endorsed bank that says, look, what we'll do is rather than you doing what you've been doing, which doesn't make any sense, that means every time you go online and you find another product to buy or service to buy online, you provide your card information, whether it's a credit card or debit card, to another company, which puts that information at risk with the employees working at that company. It puts it at risk with a hacker getting in. So that means each time you make a purchase, you make it worse for yourself. You're going deeper and deeper into the opportunity to become a victim because that's another company you have to worry about now. Where PayPal says, well, look, we're a bank and we'll do all your purchasing for you online. Let us do that because if we do the purchasing, they get our data, not yours. So PayPal just says, come to paypal.com online. You fill out the registration so they can check you out and make sure you're not some criminal trying to open up a PayPal account and someone else's card number, for example. And then once they verify who you are, they'll tell you, give us whatever account information you want to use anytime you're online. Such as your American Express card, or your Discover card, or your local bank's credit card, or your routing account number from your checking account. PayPal says, we don't care what financial product it is, as long as it's yours. And what they do is take that account information, let's say it's your Discover card, they put it into their network, they protect it with 256-bit encryption. They have the thickest firewalls that are available. So they're protecting your data just like your bank is protecting your information at your local bank. Then what happens is once they get that data and put it in their system for that Discover card, you don't have to provide that information to any more companies. Because like me, I flew out to Vegas about a week ago because I was a keynote speaker at a convention. So before going out, I had to get my airline ticket. So I went online like everybody else does, and I went to usairways.com, ordered my airline ticket, selected my seats. I got to the transaction page. Now that's where me and most people differ, because most people think of US Airways as a US-based company. Obviously, they must have network security because this is how most people buy their tickets, so they feel comfortable in passing their information on from a credit card to the database. I say absolutely not. You know what? Target has one of the most secure networks in the entire world for retail. And they lost 110 million card numbers in 2.5 weeks. If I can't trust my information at the local Target store, the last thing in the world I want to do is pass my information on then to US Airways even, via the internet, where first my information has to fly up into the iCloud, and then it's probably traveling all over India because obviously we outsource a lot of work to India, and that means I have to worry about my information being anywhere in the world now. No, I don't want to risk my information until I'm making a purchase for an airline ticket. So I didn't take a risk. When I got to the transaction page on US Airways' site, all I did was scroll right past all those fields because I left my wallet in my pocket. I have a PayPal account. All I had to do was get past all those fields, and then I found at the bottom of the transaction page a little PayPal icon. All I had to do was click on it. Once I did, it took me out of the airline website temporarily over to the PayPal website that automatically popped up on my screen. Then another click of a button on PayPal's website, as easy as that, I get to authorize PayPal to make the ticket purchase for me within fractions of a second. And that's what happened. Within fractions of a second, PayPal then went onto my credit card they have on file, reduced the credit line by the exact amount of my ticket purchase, no fee to me at all. Then PayPal, within fractions of a second, kept my money, and then with their account at the bank of PayPal, electronically they transferred the funds from their account to US Airways' account. So US Airways didn't get my account information, they got PayPal's account information. The only thing they actually got on me was the name of the person checking in at the airport. So now I can do business with 100 companies between now and the holidays online. As long as I always use PayPal to make a payment, I can't ever become a victim because not one of those 100 companies will have my data in their system to lose it to a hacker or an employee. So the reality is doesn't that make sense? Instead of sharing my data with every company and putting it at risk each time I do, I'll just let a bank make all my purchases online for me. And then I don't have to worry about any store that gets compromised that way if it's online. That just makes sense. Okay, it doesn't cost you 100 cents to use PayPal. Yes?
Do you feel like PayPal is unhackable?
No. I think they could get into PayPal, but much more difficult. It would be like getting into Bank of America. They have to maintain the same levels of security as your local bank because they're federally insured. So the reality is I feel more comfortable. But even further than that, just to kind of highlight what you just said, I have a choice. And we all do, and we're going to continue to have this choice. Where I could go onto any website and provide my data to that company, but it just means that I'm putting my information at risk with every company I do business with. Or I can say, let PayPal pay everybody, and if they get compromised, they're federally insured and required by law to pay me back in the next 36 hours for the money they lost. Now that makes sense, okay? Because if you do business with a company and they get hacked into, guess what? The last people that they contact to let them know that they've been compromised is the customer. Because they know you're never going to go back to their website. Do you know how much money in sales, projected sales, that Target lost just because it was publicized that they lost 110 million card numbers? $500 million in 2 months compared to the year before. Just to give you an idea. So that is just to say, the companies are usually reluctant to tell you anything about a compromise. They try to avoid. I had University of North Florida call my office up and say, do we have to tell all the students where we lost to a hacker 100,000 names and social security numbers? Do we have to tell all the students that? I said, yes, of course you do. They want to avoid doing it because it's a problem for their business from that point on. And so I'd much rather be dealing with PayPal, that's required by federal law, to fix the problem, let me know what happened, and provide me some obviously some protection after that point because they were hacked. The other thing is that, you know, 3/4 of your income actually goes out to paying bills, not going to retailers. If you're the average American, The risk really probably is more in the Florida Power and Lights and the utility company and the bills you have every single month, that they think they know you so well that they don't have to secure their network as good as a retailer that deals with strangers every day. See, Target doesn't trust anybody because everybody's a stranger to them. They actually have cameras on the roof of the building pointing down on the parking lot because they don't even trust you as a consumer to walk in the building without falling on purpose. So they have to have all kind of security, from cameras to the best network security, because they expect that they are dealing with strangers, they're gonna be experiencing problems. But see, FP&L says, we got your social security number in our system, we already know who you are, we don't need all that security. But they should look at it that way. I was just at the bankruptcy court doing two programs with them earlier today. And I had a cyber crime investigator and analyst in the room. And she was telling me that 70% of the companies have already been compromised already. 70% of the companies in the US, but most of them just don't know it happened. That's frightening. That's why I say we really need to be careful, especially when you're dealing with how you pay bills now. Because see, what we're doing is we're looking for convenience nowadays, aren't we? You know, we've transitioned out of the idea of the old school. Old school was what I used to do. I used to have a bill day around my house once upon a time. And I would sit down, get all my bills out, make sure I had enough checks in the checkbook, remember those days? And then you'd write out a check for every bill. You stick it in an envelope. Most of us, we're so cautious, we didn't even trust the box outside our house because it didn't have a lock on it. And we knew if we put a big red flag up on it to tell the postman that the check was in there, that the criminal would drive by first and go, I bet you there's a check in there. So most of us ran the envelope all the way down to the post office. We said, we're doing it in the receptacle, right? And then what was nice is FP&L would get your check. And what they did was immediately flip it over, because it was only a paper instrument, stamp it to endorse it, and get it in their checking account as soon as possible, so it can go through the 2 or 3 day check processing system, so that they can pull the money out of your checking account and get it updated. Now, that's when you didn't have to worry about anything, because if someone got into the FP&L website, they can find any of your checking account information, because the check was immediately deposited into their checking account. It wasn't stored in a database. But now, most people don't pay by check. People are getting lazy now, in my opinion. Now we want it to be so easy that, you know, most people, like I was at the courthouse, they would tell them, oh, no, I don't mail a check to anybody anymore. Now what they do, but how many people in this room are still doing old school mailing a check? That's it. I love you guys. Except I gotta give you bad news. Checks aren't safe either. Watch this. Most people, what they do is they wait till the due date for their power bill, and then they go right to FP&L's website, and they key in their routing number and their account number and the amount they want to pay and hit enter. And electronically, the power company can reach your checking account electronically immediately and pull the money out. All right? Well, what's the problem with that? Well, that is an issue because you just provided your data to FP&L's website and it's going to be in their system forever now. What about the employees at FP&L? Can they steal your data and sell it at $10 an account number? Oh, yes. Can there be a hacker that gets into FP&L's website and steals a whole credit card database or the checking account database and actually have your information? Oh, yes, they can. And so the reality is, you just go into a website, keying the routing number and account number into their system. Now you're saying, I'm willing to let you store my data in your system, and I just hope that you can say secure it. And the point is, they can. Hacker wants to get in, he's going to get in. So that's a problem. So, but that also means that if your routing number and account number valuable when they get in the system? That's what you have to ask yourself. Well, has anyone tried to give Walmart a check in the last couple of years? Anyone know what they do with your check when you give Walmart a check at the checkout? Anyone know? Put it in the machine and they do what? They give it back to you. That's amazing. The first time it happens to you, oh, it is the weirdest thing. It's almost like you give them the check, they run it through the system and go, we checked it, we're not taking your money today. It's free, everything's free today. Because they give you the check back, right? Well, no, it wasn't free. You know what happened? When they ran into their system, for the very first time, Walmart now just stored all of your checking account information in their system. That's your routing number, your account number. That's what it does when it goes through that little ring thing. Your name, your billing information, the check number, and the amount. That's the first time they've stored your information in this. Oh, first of all, what about they get hacked into by Target or Home Depot? You now have just lost your routing account number to a criminal. And is it valuable? Of course it is. Because if Walmart can take it, convert it to an electronic ACH, and hand you the check back, guess what? Every company almost that you're doing
doing the same. Even when you mail a check to a company, they're not processing that check anymore. That's too time-consuming and expensive for companies now. They said, we just go ahead and take the routing account number, we convert it to an ACH, electronically pull it out of your account, and we destroy the check for you because you don't need to get the check back from us, but we have to spend 49 cents to mail it to you, because if you want a copy of your check, you'll just have to go ahead and look right online with your bank and you'll be able to get a copy of it. You don't need us to mail the check back. So that means your routing account is valuable now. Because I can make purchases also at Best Buy with your routing account number. What about the guy cutting your lawn right now? You give him a check at the end of the month. He goes into his truck as he's leaving, and instead of just depositing the check and getting cash off the check for the cuts, he takes a picture with his cell phone first of your check. He then deposits the check and waits a few months, but you forgot you gave him a check months ago. He couldn't have done anything. You know what he does? He goes to BestBuy.com, orders a nice $500 flat screen TV, and then when he gets to the transaction page, he uses your routing account number to do an ACH conversion right on the site, which will pull the money out of your checking account. So giving checks out, we may need to move away from that too. So how in the world do you pay your bills now safely? That becomes a question. The banking industry says, you know, what's interesting is that they have to fix the problem. Because you're not going to, what happens if someone got your routing account number and they went to BestBuy.com and they made a purchase of a TV for $1,000 and you look at your checking account one day and see that there's $1,000 missing and you have an ACH at Best Buy for a TV you didn't buy. Who would you call to fix that problem? The bank. That's probably right after you call your spouse and ask her, hey, did you buy a TV last month and didn't bring it home? Because that's a little scary. And she says, no? Okay, fine. Well, we were a victim. You called and tell the bank that you didn't make that purchase at Best Buy. And what do you want back, by the way? How much of it? Every penny is $1,000? And the bank goes, no, why do we got to pay you back? Why do we have to take the loss? What in the world did the bank, your bank, do wrong why we should pay you back? Because we didn't share your data. The banking industry is one of the few industries that refuse to sell your data to everyone. That's first of all. So they didn't give your data out. Who did? You did. See, the banking industry says, look, we're just like a wallet. We came and we just provided you a service free of charge because you came, everybody came into the bank one day like I did and said, look, I got some extra cash. I just don't want to put it under my mattress anymore. It's not safe there. So I want you to take my extra cash and put it in your vault in the back of the building for free. You know what they did? They said, sure, we'll do it for free. And then we got greedy and said, look, I'm afraid that the bank may burn down one day or someone may rob it. So I tell you what, I want you to insure my money also that I'm leaving in your vault for free. And they said, we're going to insure it through FDIC for free also. Didn't they do that for us as well? They surely did. Then we really got greedy. And we told the bank, listen, your bank's only open during the daytime hours and only for a few of those daytime hours. So what I want is I want to be able to get to my money. I want you to keep it in your vault for free for me. I want to be able to access that money anytime I want. They went, oh boy, all right. What we have to do is figure out a way to give you codes now that you can use. We'll even take those codes and put them on an ATM card for you so that you'll be able to use this card at any machine, anytime you want, anywhere in the world, and get your money out of our vault. Okay, and we'll do that for free too. Did they do that for us as well? And then as soon as they gave you all those codes, what did we do with them? We started sharing it with every company we do business with. Not them, not the bank. You did that. You gave it to FP&L when you went to their website and keyed in your routing account number and hit enter. So that information now in that system, the bank didn't do that. You did. And then what happened was someone at FP&L went into the system and stole your routing account number and did that ACH conversion and made that purchase, and then you became a victim, but who did you blame? You called the bank up and said, I want my money back. They said, we're just like a wallet, keeping your money for you. When someone steals your wallet and you find it down the road but the money's missing, do you blame the wallet company? No. So why are you blaming the bank? Because you're insured. So guess what? They gave you money. How much are they giving back this year, they estimate? Right between $8 to $10 billion. So we can't afford it, and you can imagine you're going to end up paying it in fees. So guess what? They said, well, we have to fix the problem. Since we're liable, we're going to fix the problem. You know how we're doing it? This is all about paying your bills electronically and conveniently. Well, you don't have to send checks out anymore. We don't want you to send checks out anymore either. So what we're going to do is pay all your bills electronically for you for free. Everybody in this room should not be afraid of online banking, and I know it becomes a factor. Should I do it? But you guys are IBMers, so you should know that the banking industry has the best networks out there. And what's going on is they're saying, look, if we paid all your bills for you, and since 3/4 of our income normally in the U.S. is going out to paying bills. If we could just eliminate the risk in that, we would save probably 3/4 of the $8 to $10 billion we're going to lose this year. So the banks decided for free, we'll pay all your bills electronically. Every bank, every credit union is doing it now. What they say is very simple, is if you activate your online banking, where you can check your account every day, of course, how good is that? Just to be able to go to a PC or a laptop or a cell phone and pull up your account and see all the pending charges from the last 24 hours, where the money's still there, but it's showing you it's going to come out within a little while, where if you didn't make the purchase, you can call the bank and tell them, stop, don't pull it out, I didn't make that purchase. That's perfect. Or many of you should set up alerts on your account. The alerts are very simple because what it does, because what the alert does for you is very, very simple. It just goes in. Get this off. Good. What the alert does is you have it set up so they contact you by text on your cell phone. And what happens is whenever a purchase is being made, at the time of purchase, the bank will send you a message to let you know where you are making that purchase and how much you're spending. And as soon as you see that pop up on your phone, if you see it's $3,200 at Best Buy and you're at home watching TV, all you have to do is pick up the phone, call the bank and tell them, look, I'm not making that purchase. But you've got to learn it as the person who's standing at a counter trying to use a card that was cloned with your information. There's nothing better than that, except one other thing in online banking. It's called Bank Bill Pay. It's the best service the bank is offering you right now. Bank Bill Pay is where the bank says, we understand you want to pay your bills electronically. We just don't want you to provide your data to a company. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it for you. And they're going to do like PayPal, you might say, be that in between, that middleman. What the bank says is whenever you want to pay your bill, if you've activated your online banking, if it's FP&L, all you have to do is go to the bank website, one platform. See, most of us are sending checks to some companies, we're going to some websites and paying them. Some we're making a bigger mistake. Some of you have done this. How many of you have fallen for this ridiculous idea? And that is where a company says to you, you want real convenience, and you never want to be late. What you do is give us your routing account number from your checking account and give us an authorization to automatically draft your account every month. How many of you have fallen for that ridiculous idea, by the way? Okay, put up and down real quick. Why is that ridiculous? Because the banking industry wants you to understand, when you give a company an authorization to draft your account, there is no dollar amount or frequency connected to it. Which means now that company can go in your account anytime they want, for as much as they want, even multiple times in the same day if they chose to, and your bank, and you could not stop them. Why? You've authorized them. You've added them as an authorized user, in essence, to your account. And so the bank can't scrutinize that anymore. So the reality is we just set ourselves up. I can tell you, I was at the Department of Corrections, the probation office in Ocala just a week ago. And I was doing a presentation for the probation officers there in the conference room, where when I got to this point, one of the officers said to me, Kevin, let me explain what happened to me so they have a clear understanding of how bad the situation is. She says, Capital One is one of her credit card holders or credit card companies that she has a credit card from. She says, look, I'm concerned about my credit score always, so I never want to be late on any payment. So what I did is I allowed them with an authorization to draft my account, but only for the minimum payment due only every month. That way, I'll never have to worry about that not being paid, and I won't have to worry about my score being affected. I said, that makes sense. She said, no, it did not make sense. Because giving them the authorization to draft my account meant that they had to go ahead and look at the minimum payment and key it in and do that transaction. She said, except the person that did it obviously made a mistake. I said, what do you mean? She said, they didn't key in $60 as my minimum payment was for that month. She said, I don't even know where they got this figure from. They actually drafted her account, or attempted to, for $1,600. She says, I didn't have that in my account. I also had checks pending for what I did have in that account above the $60 they were supposed to take out. So it cost me an overdraft fee at the bank. It cost checks $2,000. I had to pay those companies a fee because I got subjected to them, including my bank now. Now I have all kind of fees, so I called the Bank of America, she said, to tell them, look, it wasn't me. It was supposed to be $60, but this company did it for $1,600. They said, well, why are you calling us? We didn't do it for $1,600. They did it. You gave them an authorization to draft your account. You don't need to call us. You need to call them. She said, what about my fees? They said, you didn't have the money in your account for $1,600, so obviously it was an overdraft. Yes. So, what am I saying? Look, follow what the bank is saying, they're saying, stop giving companies, because 25 years ago, by the way, there's no one in this room, I know there's not one person in this room that would have given any company a right to go into your money, in your checking account, whenever they want, for as much as they want, even multiple times as they want to in a day, ever. You would never have offered a company that right. But we're doing it now because you're hearing about technology and how this is easy and how it's convenient, and you're going, okay. No, it's not okay. Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's safe. So I say be cautious. Go to Bill Pay. Because the bank says, you want to pay FP&L? You go to the bank site, username and password, easy. Just like Bill Pay on the menu, and 3 fields open up, where you're able to key in just the name of FP&L, how much, and when. And your bank says, on that day, we will go into your checking account and debit your checking account for the exact amount of the bill for FP&L, no fee you at all. I'll be with you in just a second. Then FP&L, then what happens at that point is once they get that money out of your checking account to pay FP&L, they keep your money, and then they use their account at the bank to electronically transfer the funds from the bank's bank account to FP&L's account. So FP&L doesn't get your information, doesn't need your information, and if they don't have your information, when they get compromised, you don't become a victim, so you don't have a claim, and the bank says, we don't have to pay you back anything then, obviously. So guess what? We're gonna end up saving 3/4 of $8 to $10 billion this year by paying all your bills completely fee-free. That's why it's free. I'm just saying, it's the best service you have. It's one platform. See, most of you are splitting up doing how you pay your bills. Paying some by check and mailing notes, some going by his office and dropping that off, some going onto a website paying them. That's inconvenient. The bank says, come to our platform, we don't even care if it's a check. If you want to pay something like by check, like the bank cutting your lawn, all you gotta do is go to the bank website, username and password, select Bill Pay on the menu, and then what happens is, you'll see that you'll have an option to tell the bank you need to mail a check. And when you do that option, what happens is 4 fields open up for you to fill out, which is the first one, which is the name of the person or the company. The second one is an address column, so now you can put in where it needs to be mailed to, and then how much and when. And then your bank says, on that day, we go into your checking account, debit your checking account for the exact amount of the check to be written. No fee to you at all. Once they take that money out of your checking account to cut the check, they then keep your money and cut a bank check on their account at the bank. They put the 49-cent stamp on the envelope at their expense. They actually stuff it, address it, they even lick it and mail it for you. And they don't care how many they have to do. It could be 100. They'll do all of them fee-free. Watch this. How many of you are using bank bill pay right now? Watch this. How do you like it? Say that one more time. It's what?
Wonderful.
He said, well, who thinks paying bills is wonderful? That man right there. You know why? He knows that all he's doing is telling the bank what they need to do, paying his bills, and him doing it. What he doesn't know is they're not providing any of his data to any of those companies, though. That's the positive part of it. And you know why he says that he loves it so much? And I tell you why. Because it only takes him about 5 minutes to pay all of his bills now. Every one of them. Because everything's already, you can tell it, it's already in the system. He sets up recurring charges for his car payments, insurance payments, everything right in the system. So he doesn't have to address that bill every month because he sets it up to be $390 a month going to this other bank for the car loan until the end of 2017. And the bank does it automatically on the same day every single month, don't they? Get confirmations on all your payments too? It's a wonderful system, isn't it?
Yeah, very good.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned PayPal, but they ask for your ACH number.
Of course. Matter of fact, what happens is PayPal did not ask for checking account information originally, but they kept getting scammed. People kept going to PayPal.com with other people's name and credit card information, and they would open up a PayPal account with someone else's credit card. So what happened was PayPal said after a while, we can't verify who the person is that's coming on the website. But they figured out a way to do it. What they said is we figured out that you only have access to your checking account. So when you come to PayPal to register, you don't have to use your checking account to make the payment. All right? What they do is they ask you for your private account number so that they can put a couple of pennies into your account so that you have to have access to your checking account to look how many pennies they put in there so you can respond to them on how many pennies they put in your account. That would verify you are that person, and then they open up your PayPal account. So that's what actually constitutes the PayPal account activating. And that's the only reason they're using your ACH information, really. They're using it so that they can verify who you are. That's it. Because then they say, well, whatever account you can use, American Express, now Discover, whatever you want to use as your default. But we verify you through your bank's checking account because you're the only one that has access to it. So it's more that.
What's to keep them from using it for withdrawal?
One is that PayPal is, keep in mind what their whole idea is, they want to be that middleman between you and all the vendors. And they pride themselves on the security of it. And what they're saying is that, well, at our building, the hub, for example, everyone walks into our building without a pen, a laptop, a cell phone, a piece of paper. You almost walk into the building to go to work and PayPal naked, except you have clothes on. So they make sure you don't come in with anything that can store data or that you can write data on, and you can't leave with that either. So the reality is all they're doing is utilizing the thickest firewalls. They're using the highest levels of encryption. They're making sure that no employees can steal the data, and they also guarantee that if we are ever victimized, if you're victimized through PayPal, you'll get your money back in 36 hours. So it's just a really way of what makes more sense. When I go online, should I pay a company directly where they're going to have my data from my card in the system, or should I let PayPal make all my purchases, and that way no one gets my data, and if they ever get compromised, they'll have to, by federal law, pay me back. That's what you want.
They're just the subject to hacking is that.
And they are, except it's just like you hear less of Bank of America getting hacked than you do the convenience store down the road, or even Target, a retailer that boasts that they have one of the most secure networks in the entire world, and they are set up for it. But the thing is you didn't share your data with all the companies. You only shared it with one. They're making all your purchases for you. So you have to measure the lesser of two evils. One is really evil. That's sharing your data with every company. Obviously, I mean, you're at risk with every company you do business with, or I'll let a bank do all my purchasing for me, and if I have a problem, it's always them. I want to know who did it, where it happened, where the source was, and they're guaranteed that they're going to pay me back. With the companies I do business with, they won't even tell me they got hacked. So I'm not getting any money back from them. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a little bit of a dinosaur in that I don't do that much on the computer. I, however, have pulled, I guess, my credit card company, and I'm on the phone. On my checking account. And they have my routing number.
Of course they do.
There's no way I can get out of that.
No, and that's why I say when you start doing bill pay through the bank, for example, let's say you want to convert now to doing bill pay through the bank. You know what I suggest? The same thing I did. I called up Wells Fargo and said, look, Wells Fargo, I've had this checking account for about 30 years. And, you know, I felt some kind of an affinity to my checking account. Like, that's important. I had this one for 30 years. But guess what? That means nothing. You know what happened? I called up FP. One time I went on FPNL's website, and I actually made a payment to FPNL through the website. This is before all of this, I understood all of this. And I even remember indicating on that website that when it asked me, can we store your data? I said no. Right? But when then everything came out, I started realizing, well, what about that one? I wonder what FPNL did with my data, even though I told them they could store it. So I called up FPNL and I said, look, I'd like to, and I was faking it, to be honest with you. I said, I'd like to make a phone payment. And they said, sure, but would you like to use the same account you used last time, ending in ... I went, wait, you're not supposed to have that? They said, oh, listen, customer service won't have access to your data when you don't want us to have it, but our bookkeeping area, oh yeah, we have your data. It's in the system. It doesn't go anywhere. It's a hard drive. I was like, oh, I picked up the phone right after that. I thought, no, I'm not making a payment. I was just checking to see if you guys really did store it. I hung up. I called Wells Fargo up. I said, Wells Fargo, look, I've had this checking account for 30 years. I tell you what, my data, I can't purge it on anyone's system, so I want you to go ahead and cancel or close out that checking account and open up another one for me. They said, we'll do it right over the phone for you. Just stop in the branch, one of the branches over the next day, a week or two, and sign a new signature card. I said, is it any big deal that it's no longer a 30-year account that I've had with you? They said, no, we still have you as time with us all along. Just because you close one checking account, get another one doesn't change that. No, fantastic. That's not going to be an issue. You just need to, before you start doing back bill pay, make sure if you share your routing account number with companies, that you can go ahead now and close that one out before you start back bill pay. And start back bill pay on the new account so that no one has that data. Yes?
Am I at risk if I say FPL will debit my account every month to pay the bill because I don't want to forget?
Well, why don't you set that up through bank bill pay and let your bank electronically push the money to them instead of letting FPNL electronically reach into your checking account anytime they want and pull the money out. So you're trusting FPNL. My point is you're trusting FPNL too much. You're giving them the opportunity to have it.
Well, two aspects. What's the risk? If somebody hacks FPNL, gets my routing number, who's responsible?
Well, ultimately, the bank's FDIC is going to be, but how long can you go without access to those funds? Let me give you a good example so to answer your question. Lady calls my office and she said, look, Kevin, I have a problem. I need some assistance and you guys are victims advocates, so I need to ask you some questions. She said, look, first of all, I had $1,400 in my checking account and I did not lose my card and it was not stolen. She said someone got to that Visa information on that ATM card and went online to 4 different companies and ordered over $1,400 worth of products, which ate up all the money in my checking account. She said, but for me, it got even worse because my checking account was also tied to my savings account for overdraft protection. She says, well, that created a huge problem for me because whoever got her information didn't stop with those first 4 websites. He kept going. He got 4 approvals when he bought a product. So he kept going. And because of the overdraft protection kicking in, when she ran out of money out of checking, he swung to a savings account. He was able to go on to 14 more websites and order another $7,400 from those companies, putting her at a loss for almost $9,000 now. What is your overdraft protection connected to from checking? Is it connected to your major savings account? You set yourself up for a major loss now. It should be connected to a small savings account you put $100 in, just in case you make a small mistake, or to a credit card that you have with your local bank at that where you have your checking account. So it's always going to roll to a credit card, which you're not liable for, obviously, which would also be protection. But in her case, it was connected to a savings account with $10,000. She was in the process of buying a house, she said. She says, and I didn't know anything about it until I went to a gas station. And when I swiped my ATM card to pay for my gas, it wouldn't activate the system. She said, that's when I turned the card over, called up Bank of America and said, hey, why isn't my card working? They said, well, we'll take a look at your account online, we'll see what's going on, and come right back. Hold on. They put her on hold, came back a minute later, she said, ma'am, where in the world have you been? She said, standing right here in the gas station. They said, no. 7 days ago, you had 18 charges hit your account. All internet purchases. Coming to almost $9,000 worth of purchases. Ma'am, didn't you do those purchases? She said, absolutely not. And then they asked the most important question. And that was, do you think you know who could have done this to you? Thank goodness she answered the right question with the right answer. And that was, she said, absolutely not. If she would have said yes, she just set herself up to be liable for those charges. So make sure you answer the question right. And I don't know who did and who could have. She answered the question right. So they said, well, ma'am, unfortunately, we can't resolve this over the phone because it was 7 days ago. If you would have caught this, they asked her, why don't you check your account every day? And she says, why would I have to check my checking account every day? Let me ask you, who checks their checking account every single day online? Let me ask you, why?
Because I'm always worried that somebody's trying to steal money out of it.
Is that amazing? Do you realize that 25 years ago, there's no one in this room that would look at your checking account every single day because you were afraid one day you were going to look and the money was going to be missing. But now you almost anticipate it's going to be. No one in this room would even be surprised to get a call from the bank where they ask you, are you in Las Vegas right now making a $300 purchase with your ATM card? We all go, no. And they go, okay, we're going to cancel your card and send you out a new one. And you go, thank you. Wait a minute. You were just a victim and you're thanking the bank? Oh, you're thanking the bank for catching it? Guess what? The only reason they caught it was because that charge was, it was a swipe, by the way. That means they cloned your information onto a new card and someone swiped it in Las Vegas. And that means you're never there. Your algorithm on how you spend your money, because your bank knows more about your spending habits than you do. Your bank knows because every time you swipe the card, they know exactly where you are and how much you're spending, of course. It's almost like Big Brother knows who and where you are. And guess what? They know that you're willing to drive 13 miles to save 2 cents on your gas versus getting gas down the street from your house. So yes, whenever you swipe a card, they know what's usual for you. And it's built in an algorithm, so that if anything comes outside that algorithm, guess what? They can shut your card off and generate a phone call. But what happens if that charge wasn't in Las Vegas? It happened to be in Fort Lauderdale. It would have went through and the money would have been gone. But my point being, with the lady that lost $9,000 because of the overdraft protection, guess what? They told her because she didn't catch it while the charges were still pending before the money was extracted, they said, we cannot just reverse the charges with the store now because your money's gone. It was 7 days ago. They were advising her to look at her account every day. They said, you're going to have to come down to the bank now and sign an affidavit. Oh, now she has a hassle. She had to go down to the bank, sign the affidavit, swearing she didn't make those charges. And then they said, look, for a substantial loss of almost $9,000, we need you to go get a police report also. So you're going to need to go down to law enforcement and see if you can find an officer, which in South Florida is really tough. They don't want to deal with it. That will do a police report for you to provide it back to the bank. And then FDIC will pay you back is what they told her. Well, she did all that the same day. She took it back. This is the hassle. When she gave them the paperwork, including the police report, you know what happened? They said, ma'am, you're fast, but FDIC's not. It's gonna be after our investigation, about 30 to 60 days before we're gonna reimburse your funds. She said, absolutely not, I can't go without access to my money. I'm in the process of buying the house. They said, you're gonna have to borrow money from us for the house then, whatever you're looking to spend, because that money's gone and we can't do it any faster than that. And so the reality is it's just a hassle, because you are not liable. If you had the money in your checking account, you're insured up to $250,000 per account. So you're gonna get your money back, it's just when it becomes a factor. I don't wanna deal with that. And that's why I say there's certain things that you can do to avoid that. Debt bill pay is the best way to go. You don't want to provide your data to all these companies. Yes, sir.
A response to the question.
Yes.
I use online software like Quicken that checks on my bank accounts every day. So that's one way of doing it.
Sure.
But I stopped doing online banking about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Because my problem was, the bank would say, okay, we're gonna mail the check.
And they didn't pay the
But we didn't process it in time, late.
They're much better now. That's when they were trying to get it together, and they knew they were leading towards this way, that they were gonna encourage you, they were gonna offer it free. But now, this isn't, all you gotta do is ask for the process. When do you mail the checks? Find out from your bank what their process is, and once you got that, those people that are using is they come before you, once you know what the process is. That's what you, of course, if you think that you're gonna put it in today and it's gonna be issued today, it's, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. You gotta know the system.
It's going to be 3 days before they mail
They tell you. Yes, sir.
Interesting story. A couple
Yes.
of years ago, my son got a call from American Express, wanted to know if he made these 2 charges. Okay, the charges came from a prison store.
Cop service.
They have to pay that thing.
And, you know, it's coming from everywhere. You know, the IRS fraud, they're finding that a lot of the fake filings for other people's social security numbers is coming from prison as well. Yes.
I had one, this was September 20th. I flew back in Fort Lauderdale Airport, paid for my parking.
Yeah.
The next morning, and I still had my card, next morning, $112 in gas was charged. Gas stations, I thought typically always needed a card. Okay, you know?
Really?
Then 14 hours later, another $120 in gas was charged in Tampa.
Yep.
And the bank looked at that and said, this guy don't drive that much.
Right. Shut it down.
I couldn't believe why.
He said something interesting. He said, well, he thought you needed a card at the gas station, I'm sure it's happened to all of us that you went somewhere and you got to the counter to pay for it, you slid your card and it didn't accept it. And the person behind the counter said, let me have your card. And then manually keyed it in and you enter. You don't have to swipe it, you key the information in manually. So if I steal people's credit card information, without cloning a new card, by the way, which is very easy, it's a $300 cloner. You key the information into your laptop, you swipe the card with the magnetic strip down cloner, and it loads the strip all the data. So that's an easy way, and anyone can buy it online right now, a cloner. But they say we don't even have to do that because what we have is the guy that's working at midnight in the convenience store, he hates his job. And if you go in there and hand him $100, then yeah, you hand him $10. Guess what? You can then tell them, look, I left my card at home. Can you just key in the information that I'm going to give you and activate my pump so I can go ahead and fill up my tank? That's all. It's as simple as that. They can manually key in anything. So as long as it's, and by the way, in South Florida, it's all organized. Usually, it's organized from the point of the person that's behind the counter getting paid to the person that's putting the skimmer on the inside of the machine out in the parking lot. It's all set up, you know. So the reality is you're just in a bad area. The South Florida area is just bad. You know, you have a lot of organized criminals that are doing this. But it's been.
What degree of security do you have with new chips in the car?
Okay, let's talk about the new chip. You ready for this? All right. Why are we changing systems? Well, why are we taking so long to change systems is my question, because Europe and Canada did it 7 to 10 years ago. And why? Because they had the same experiences that we have been having. We're using a mag strip on the back of a credit card to transfer the information from your card into a system. That system, how old is it? Well, the mag strip is the same system as the 8-track tape. So how old is the 8-track tape? All right? And by the way, you guys are IBMers, and so you guys probably keep up with some of the technology. Question is how long does it take a hacker, a good one, to crack a code to get into a website? Well, that's why they say they have to change IT has to change and update their system regularly. I mean, because if you leave it up there too long, they're gonna crack the code and get in. Well, that's in weeks they're talking about. Well, what about if you had a system that's been around for 60 years? Well, of course they know the system well. That's why we should have switched systems years ago, like Europe and Canada did. And what does it do? Well, let me tell you what happened at Target so you know. When you took your credit card during that time frame that the malware was in the system, you were using a Magstrip. And that system is so old, it cannot adapt to higher levels of encryption software now. So when you went to the register at the Target store to pay for the items on the belt, you slid your card, your information was not, the credit card information was not encrypted at the point of sale. It required that now, that Target, after you swipe the card, get that information in their network, and then they can run a program to encrypt the data so that their employees and hackers can't find it. But that left a gap. The hackers found the gap. Where was the gap? Between when you swiped the card and before Target got the information. Fractions of a second. That's all. That's all they needed to place the malware right there. So they got your full card number before it was encrypted. That's why these compromises were so life-changing, really, for the banking industry, because it happened the same thing. The same code on the malware was placed in the Home Depot system. So it was the same hackers that did it. The point is it's because of the system, not because of Target. Target says we get the information immediately, we encrypt it. It's that the system you swiped your card on had the flaw. So we're switching systems like Europe did, because now we're going to RFID or EMV, and basically what it is a chip in your card. You guys have noticed that it's coming in the mail. Plug this one in real quick. Some are pay-as-you-go, tap and pay. Some are inserting as EMV. So the chip in the card is pretty diverse. And what happens is, just to give you an idea on like the tap as you go of tap and pay. Give you an idea of this. Where's my card? It's in here somewhere. I thought it was in my pocket. Who's checking out where I put my credit card? Who is it? Oh, here we go. Now, my card actually doesn't even have a chip you can see. Now, most of the cards you get, you can see the chip right on it. It's either silver or gold square. Well, now a lot of the banks are saying we're not going to show it anymore, because a lot of people, when they find out that the chip transmits your data, they're drilling a hole through it. What you don't know is this month, October of 2015, is the mandate that all the banks were supposed to put the chip in the card, because they have to get rid of all the skimmers. They're supposed to do that over the next 6 months or so, where stores were supposed to, as of January of 2015, put these readers in at their registers. If they did not start the transition by installing the readers by January, then if they got hacked into like Target or Home Depot, guess what? They'll be held responsible for all fraudulent charges. If they hadn't installed them, even if they weren't using them yet, because a lot of the Walmart stores aren't even using them yet. They have them installed. They said, no, as long as you're part of the transition, we won't hold you responsible. So even if you're using the skimmer still, but you put these in, at least by October, we'll be able to make this full transition. We're not going to hold you responsible. Wonderful. That's why a lot of the small retailers are saying this is a draw for them, because these systems cost anywhere from $500 to $2,000 to update, to go to the chip readers. And what it is, just to give you an idea, watch this. Your card now, when it's tap and pay, your card's chip transmits your data, card number, expiration date, 3-digit code, name, and billing information. Now that's not a secret, that's not something new, that's on the strip right now. But this is transmitting the data wirelessly. So all I have to do is come, this is an antenna actually, at the register. It has a 3-inch range on it. So all I have to do is present the card, and you'll see it reads it, without even touching it. Okay? Now, what it did is just capture the card number, expiration date, 3-digit code, name, and billing information. What's the benefit? This system, this new technology, and like Europe and Canada, it encrypts the information at the point of sale. So automatically, there's nowhere for the hacker to get into a network of a retailer and place malware where he's going to find that information where it's not encrypted yet. So this is wonderful. That means we're not going to lose 110 million card numbers once we make this full transition now to these readers and all cards are chipped, which that's supposed to be done this month. The reality is that you don't have to worry about hearing that one store you shopped at last month got hit by a hacker and they lost millions of card numbers. So what happened? Good. You know the problem is? Anyone could buy one of these. They cost $20 on eBay. I broke mine a couple months ago. Went on eBay, picked another one up for $19.04. And what's nice about this, if you're a hacker, is that guess what? The information on this frequency goes to all material except metal. So if someone is smart enough, which you can see on YouTube anytime you want to, how to do it, They take one of these, like my son who's 34 years old and an IT engineer and working with CBS News across the country. He goes into every major city, goes to the mall with him. You might have seen him, his name is Chris Gilpin. And what he does is he places one of these in his briefcase because it has a 3-inch range on it. That's about that far. He can put this on the outer edge of his briefcase like this without the base, connect the laptop to it here, and put it in the bag, and you won't even see anything except that you have a well-dressed young man with a briefcase. Now, he's not going to be threatening to you at the mall at all. Trust me, not my son. That's the way he looks. And what happens now is that they'll have you walking by in the mall, and the newscaster will say, sir or ma'am, can we attempt to read your credit card information as you walk by? And if you say yes, what my son does is simply take his bag and push it up against your handbag. As long as it comes within 3 inches of the wallet that's in the handbag, it'll pull the data right off the chip, right through your handbag, through the leather, through your pants pocket, gentlemen. Why? Because the data goes through all material except metal. Wow. Yes, she has an aluminum wallet. You have to do something now. This transition to this new system just means that the store databases are more protected now. They're more secure. It just means that your wallet still are at risk. That's why we've been urging you to do something. There's some sleeves that are out there that are lined with aluminum. American Express used to give those out. They stopped giving them out because they said all the cards are going to be chipped now, and that means that it's not just an American Express card. That means you're not going to know what card it is because these sleeves, you can't even see through them. But they work. They're lined with aluminum. It's called an RFID material on the inside. So the thing is American Express says, well, you have to put a card in each one of these envelopes. It's in your wallet. When you open your wallet, you're not going to know what card it is until you pull it, start pulling it out. They said it's going to be inconvenient. They're suggesting you spend $150, American Express says, on a RFID secured leather wallet that you'll find online. I like the sleeves because they were kind of cheap. What happened was, it protected, look, your information, unprotected, your information in the sleeve was protected. It's just that it's going to bulk up the wallet, and it's not going to last very long. Well, one thing is I'm getting ready to get goosebumps because, I don't know, does anyone like Shark Tank? Anyone watch Shark Tank? Did you see the season opener 2 Fridays ago? Anyone? Because my son was on Shark Tank on the season opener. Because when my son was a speaker for me after he got out of college, it wasn't his thing. He was an IT engineer. So he started talking to me about going into cyber crime, the area of analyzing systems. And he said the first thing he wanted to work on was the RFID chip that's in the cards. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He says, well, the technology is available to jam the signal because they use it in aerospace and in weaponry. And they use it in access systems like secure areas where you have to use a card to open up the door. That's RFID. He says they have to jam the signal in different cases. That's available. I can apply it to financial products. I said, well, work on it, see what you can do on that, because they'll go like that a lot more. If you can come up with a way to jam a signal in any wallet, it doesn't have to be a specialty wallet. I said, it'd be better than sleeves, you know, it'd be better than a $150 wallet that you have to buy according to American Express. So I said, work on it. What he found was, kind of interesting, he was able to build a credit card size insert, and he built an RFID chip in it and embedded it in the plastic, so it couldn't be weathered, it couldn't be damaged. And it's basically the same thing as your credit card, you might say. The same chip is in there. This card chip transmits my data, card number, expiration date, 3-digit code, name, and billing information. This one transmits only a blank field. That blank field goes 3 inches in every direction. I said, Chris, break it down in layman's terms so I can explain it. He says, imagine this insert is floating in a ball, and to get to the outer edge of the ball is 3 inches. That's it. So the ball is outside here, basically, all right, because this is floating in the middle. He says, that's your area of protection. He says, so if you take this insert and place it in your wallet, that ball is now outside your wallet. That would mean everybody in your card is unreadable. I said, Chris, if that's correct, you're going to be a very, very wealthy man. He said, I'm getting goosebumps. I know. Because the last thing he did was last November was frightening, which really highlighted this whole thing that he has done. He was in Sacramento doing a report for CBS News at the mall. And he left Sacramento after doing the report at the mall and came straight back to Florida. And 3 nights later, they were airing it on CBS News, 6 and 11 o'clock news in Sacramento. He was on his computer when it aired because he got instant messaged by a hacker, actually, that was in Sacramento watching the report. And so they kind of went back and forth, he said, because the guy was saying, hey, we use the same equipment, but you're misleading the public on that report that I'm watching right now. And my son said, what do you mean? He says, well, you get the impression that I would have like a bag
to get close to somebody, like bump into them to get to their information. He says, that's not correct. He says, I'm not a mugger, I'm a hacker. He says, if I had to do it that way, I'd get caught. He says, I do it remotely. He says, all you have to do too, to show the news that you can do this, is modify your unit. He says, we have the same unit, so peel off this decal here with American Express and Discover and everything on there. And under there, you're gonna find 4 screws. He said, take off those 4 screws and remove the plate. You'll see the U-shaped antenna there. It's designed to be at a store. It's designed to be at a store register and only read data from someone that's presenting the card, which means basically that when you go to the register, it won't read your card when you're walking by the register, of course, because it's a short-range antenna. There's 3 inches is designed so that only when you present the card will it read. He says, but if you change the antenna and add a signal booster to it, you're going to now be looking at being able to do it remotely from a distance. My son went, wow. And he called me and said, Dad, you got to do this. I said, well, try it out. And then we called Channel 6 News at Orlando and see if they'll do another report and show that it's not just bumping into bags. It can be done from a distance. And we did call them. They said we were interested. And when we got down to the mall of Millennia, they want to do it. That's the high-end mall in Orlando. He said, as soon as he got there, they had 2 cameras set up, and the news did. And they asked him to take his briefcase, in this case now, and just throw it over his shoulder, the shoulder strap, and just walk through the food court area. The main aisle food court to a counter and come back. It took less than 2 minutes to make this walk up and walk back. He didn't make contact with anyone. If you want to see the report, as a matter of fact, on the handout I gave you, if you look under important links, you'll see in blue on the left-hand side, you're going to see where it says my website, which is www.nationalcrimestop.org. When you have a computer at home, when you get home, just pull that website up, and right on the home page, you'll see the 3.5-minute report from CBS News at Orlando. It's where my son walked up, walked back, and when he got back, he opened up the laptop, and they said, let's see if on the file you have any data, anyone's card information. They were shocked. 19 card numbers. Everything from American Express to Discover, all the way down to local debit card numbers from Wells Fargo and Chase Bank. It was amazing. But what was really frightening was not seeing the file. It was, we expected to see that. What we didn't expect is the distance, because they started yelling out people's names. They explained, they just did a little announcement. We did this little experiment. We captured some data. We apologize for not telling you in advance. But what we'll do is if you come up, when we call your name, we'll destroy the information right in front of you. And they were mad. Those people were mad. Well, what happened was, the first person, when they called out their name, my son was asked to walk straight, and that person was a good 4 feet away. That was scary. The next person they called out was 4 feet away on the opposite side from where he was. That was far enough that you would never know that the guy had sold your data just walking by him in the mall. Well, it got worse, because the third person was 27 feet away, and the 4th person was just under 35 feet away. So we're talking about crowd hacking now. A crowd he goes into, has it in a bag, captures data from people just around him. The point is what my son did was pretty incredible, and you'll see why it went so quick on Shark Tank. As a matter of fact, the season opener was this. Your card information can be captured by someone even with a cell phone that has Apple Pay on it, because Apple Pay uses RFID to capture the data off the chip as well. So if someone has an iPhone and gets close to your handbag or your wallet at your back pocket, well, it's going to go through all materials except metal. He's going to be able to pull the data off the chip to load it onto his phone to save it, to go to a store and use it. So you want to be careful even with people with cell phones. But if you had one of these in your wallet, and like I said, it's going to protect every card in your wallet, just one insert. Your card's unreadable. It's not until you get 3 inches away that it's going to read. Your card's unreadable until you get 3 inches away. So what happens is you're simply placing this insert in your wallet, and every one of your cards becomes unreadable until you take that card out of your wallet and move it at least 3 inches away, which you always do to pick a big payment, whether you're swiping it or whatever, and then it will work again. As soon as you put it back in your wallet, it goes back to being unreadable right away. And so you really don't have to get a specialty wallet. You don't have to use the aluminum ones. That does work, by the way. Continue to use that. It does work. It's just that those aluminum wallets, I noticed, they call aluminum wallets. They actually break really easy because although the outside is aluminum, the inside, including the hatch, and the latch, and the clasp, is plastic. And you can't sit on them. You can't drop them. It will break really. I think he did it on purpose. Whoever made that, he wanted you to buy one every 2 months. I think that's what happened. Yes, ma'am. Okay, you know, all right. He put out that he was going to take $200,000 for 15%, and then they started fighting over it. And then what happened was
was Lori was interested, who was the QVC queen, and then Robert was the IT security guy. They both went at it, and it went up to 200, well, it was at 200,000, but they wanted more equity. And he says, I'll give you more equity at 25%, only if both of them come in. And they said, surely, without a question. It wasn't even a hesitation. Right away, they said, fine, we're ready. They got up, went, gave him a hug, and we went, yes! So, what's that? David wasn't there on that show. They had actually Ashton Kutcher. That was his first show on the season opener. So he sat in David's seat. I know David, actually. He's a good friend of mine. But he had to be on a show that he wasn't on because my best friend growing up in New York is David's best friend right now. So it was a little bit of a conflict, so he couldn't be on the show to take the deal. Okay.
They've asked me to mention there's another event in here.
Oh, we got to set this. Tie this up then. So I'm going to end here and answer any questions that you might have. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I can go into buy one of those things for my wallet.
Yes.
And another store didn't have it. One told me take this cardboard with heavy duty aluminum foil around it until she gets it in stock.
Right.
And put one on either side of all the cards.
And you could do that. That's shielding it with the aluminum. It does work. It's just inconvenient. It's kind of bulky. It's temporary.
My most important question is, let's say you have whatever you have protected in your wallet.
Yes.
You move the card.
Yes.
You go to make a purchase.
You're at risk.
What stops these
Nothing.
hackers?
The only thing that you have a benefit there, because like I said, what we do is we go right into the horse's mouth. We go into correctional facilities and interview hackers to get our data, so that you have practical information coming from them. And what we found in the prison system is they said, we're not going to be around the register to wait for you to pull your card out of your wallet. We can pull your data with one of these anywhere. We can walk down during holiday season, walk down the mall and capture hundreds of card numbers literally. My son did it on Orange Avenue downtown Orlando, for example. And within minutes, he captured 63 card numbers. So do they really want to go to, and this is what most of the hackers said, if we had to go around a register somehow, some way, and wait for you to pull your card out, that's where all the cameras are. He said, we're not interested in doing that. We're going to go, we'll stand out in the parking lot before we go by a register and let you just walk past us in the parking lot. So the reality is the chances that they will probably wait for you to pull your card out, probably slim to none. So it's just really protecting the card while it's in your wallet, and you're not paying attention to anything. You're not concerned about anything. You're at a football game, or you went to the park, or you went to do some shopping at the mall. You want that card to be protected in that wallet during those time frames, especially. Okay. Yes, you have number?
Yeah. When you make a purchase on a phone, you initiate the call, you make a purchase on the phone. Is it safe to give them your credit card information?
How do you know what they're doing with your data when you pass it on to them? You know, are you telling them what the data is? Are you telling them, oh, this is my card number, or you're keying it in through the system? Which one?
No, tell them verbally.
So you're telling me, and we're on the phone, so you can't see me, and you're telling me what it is. And I'm working at a company, I'm just a customer service rep, right? Let's imagine. And you just told me your card number. What I did is I didn't key it into the system. I just wrote it down first. And then I keyed it into the system after and took that piece of paper and stuffed that in my pocket, and now I can use your data. You should never relay your information verbally to anyone over the phone. Well, you can't tell what they're doing with your data. You see what I mean? That's risky. That's like the pizza place. Calling the pizza place up on Friday and trying to tell the person at the pizza place, hey, you go ahead and have my card number, expiration date right over the phone. You don't know what he's going to do with that data once he has it in hand. Yes.
We were surprised to find that there will help kept the information, our credit card information on file. We had a request that they remove it. Is that the normal procedure, request that they remove it?
You would have to request, but I can tell you right now, they're not removing your data completely from their system. It just doesn't happen that way. It's kind of like when people say, you know, I go into when I have a laptop and I'm getting ready to update it and get a new one, I'm going to sell my old one. They say, I go to all my files and I delete all my files. That is removing it, but did it delete it from the hard drive? Absolutely not. So you defeated the purpose really by thinking that you're going to tell a company, purge my information from my account out of your system. The customer service rep is going to say yes, because they have a button that says purge information. You know, do not call again. You ever had a do not call registry where they keep calling you anyway? That button doesn't work. All right.
What do you think about the Square readers and the PayPal?
They're changing also. They're going to change very soon because everything's going to the smart chip. So what's going to happen is all the phones like Apple Pay, it'll be enabled on your cell phone just to use your antenna. You won't have to plug it in and swipe it. What you'll do is once this transition is completed, Square or PayPal even has an extender. What's going to happen is you're just going to go to the platform, all right, for Square, and then you'll take the card that you want to charge and wave it in front of your phone. That's it, and it'll pull the data right off the chip. So that system, it lasted just a short period of time before they already came up with this new system that they said is going to be much more protected. Right now it's safe. You know what I'm concerned about? Who you're dealing with when it is. See, I don't mind you go into a place that's respectable and you know, obviously qualified, you know, such as a store, and they're going to do it. Maybe in a restaurant also, they have a system they have set up to do it off the phone. But if I go to the flea market, and there's a guy at the flea market with one of these on their phone, I don't know how he manipulated his phone. I don't know when he swipes that card, whether he's able now to store my data in his system in a separate file. So if I don't trust a person, I would never let them swipe my card on their phone.
How do you fix the mistake?
Cancel the checking account. Credit card, call the credit card company up and say, look, I want to cancel that card, send me out a new one with a new number. So,
What's your advice until, to protect our accounts, until your son's invention is developed?
it's already here. And guess what? You can go online, you can get it, there's a website right on your sheet that you'll be able to go on and you'll be able to purchase from there. But I've had a lot of programs since I've been here in South Florida over the last 2 days. And one, I have to go to a Morgan Stanley right after this, or at 6 o'clock this evening for the clients there. So they asked me to bring them in. So obviously my son developed it. I try to give you a deal because if you're gonna go online, you're gonna find them, now that it's been on Shark Tank, it's going up from $19.95 per card to $29.95 per card. Because it got all that national exposure and everybody's all over it, of course. So when you buy multiples, and you do, you have to get one for you and the spouse, maybe for the grown kids that you wanna get for Christmas, or when they're doing their shopping, they don't get victimized. Maybe you have mom or dad, I don't know. The point is people buy multiples. So at $29.95, it's a little expensive. So, because you saw the presentation, and thanks for coming, I appreciate you guys coming today and getting this information. What I'll do is I'm gonna go out to the lobby area if anyone's interested. I brought someone with me for the event. If you're interested, I don't do any credit card or debit card sales after this presentation, of course. So if you're in a position with cash or even a check, I'll take a check from you, obviously you trust me enough for the check. But cash or check, I'll let you have them 2 for $25. So definitely take advantage of the ones I have, because you're not gonna get that deal anywhere else, obviously. So if you're interested, take advantage of it. Otherwise, there's a website, you'll see where it says order your RFID data blocker. On that sheet is important links. You'll be able to go to that site as of Saturday, from what I intend to do is work on it today. But on Saturday, it'll be up and going, and you'll be able to get on for, I think they're not changing the price to $29.95 until after the weekend. So you might have a chance to get it for $20, about $20.50. What's that? Yes. Yes.
Oh, the current new card that I just got.
Yep.
That's an RFID chip in it.
Yep.
And that RFID chip contains my data that used to be on the strip.
On the strip, the card number, expiration date, 3-digit code on the back, name, and the billing
Wait
information.
a second, I mean, this is the wonderful thing Europe and Canada have been using for years.
That's right.
We finally got it, and they tell me it's no good.
Well, we messed up a little bit. For some reason, our financial industry in the US thinks, unfortunately, excuse my French, thinks we're idiots. In Europe and Canada, they went with chip and pin. Chip and pin means that you can wave your card, but then it only activates the system. Then you're gonna have to key in your secret pin number into the system. That protects you now at every turn, whether the card's in your wallet or whether it is you're making a purchase at a store, because it passes on a unique one-time use number to the system at the store when you make a purchase. But the problem is, and this is really easy, we only went with chip and sign, and that's only if it's $50 or more. And what that means is that the card that you're going to be utilizing at the Walmart or the Target store now with the chip in it, it's not going to require you keying the PIN number. It's only going to require if the cost is over $50 that you sign and no one checks the signature. If it's under $50, all you'll have to do is wave it or insert it, and automatically the charge will go through. It's the silliest thing we have decided to do, because they said we weren't prepared to do chip and PIN yet. They're going to do that over the next 2 to 3 year period, make that transition.
One more.
And one last one, because tell me I gotta get out of here. All right.
What's your social?
Well, better than that, I just caught everyone's credit card. No, I'm joking. I'm gonna make the same thing. But I will be out front. If anyone's interested, I'll definitely. I want to thank you guys for coming out. Did you guys get a lot of good information? You have passports also. You know the passports have a chip in it.
We're out, never get it, number.
No, I don't, but I don't think that on the other side. Right now, you go for online purchases without. That helps as long as you're casing the car. You have to actually come to the car completely, not just one strip in there will do it. That will work, that'll be helpful, yeah. No, and the signal doesn't leak out, I'll be honest with you, if it's not completely covered with aluminum, it will leak out. Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, yes, to say that whether you have an item that, you.
Those are RFID tags.
Those are RFID tags.
And they are deactivated if you pay for it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It removes it out of the inventory. That's right.
And when you're blocking, you've not just defeated that.
But it works, the RFID tags in inventory is a different frequency, so it won't block that one. It'll only block credit cards, debit cards, and all financial products, but no tags for inventory. It's a different frequency, just like passports are a different frequency as well. So it won't block that, so no, we're not defeating the purpose. We will make sure that it would not be disabled in any way whatsoever. I'm gonna go outside so they can let these folks in here.